Welcome to Inspired Living with Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. Every Wednesday, Marc, along with his special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Marc will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Marc is a tested, certified, and professional spiritual medium, metaphysical teacher, healer, and spiritual advisor with a spiritual practice based in Seattle, Washington. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, awakening, transformative planet of ours. This is another episode of Inspired Living. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, coming to you live from the beautiful Pacific Northwest. It is the fall, whereas it's my favorite season. I love when we move into the fall season. And it's also a reminder as the leaves start to fall from the trees let things go, knowing that in just a few months' time, the cycle will repeat and the leaves will come back and spring will be upon us. And I think we can do a lot of that with our own spiritual journey and life journey. Is sometimes we have to let things go so that they can come back anew. So thank you for joining us. A big shout out to all of our inspired listeners out there all around the globe. We appreciate you tuning into the live broadcast. If for some reason you missed the live broadcast, you can always go catch the podcast over on whatever your favorite platform is these days for listening to podcasts. I know that there are lots and lots of podcasts out there, so we're very honored and humbled to be featured as FeedSpot's best 100 inspirational podcasts to follow and listen to in 2023 and in 2021. So hopefully we can continue that work into continue the work into 2023, but I guess we're still in 2022. So we're always here on Wisdom Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, you can always go to OMTimes Radio to click on the global player and listen to our show from anywhere around the planet. No username, no password, no memberships, no BS, just straight up internet radio, bringing inspiration when we can here on Inspired Living Radio. So just a big shout out. We'd like to say you are the inspired and the inspiration, and you inspire me to come on the show every other week and do these amazing episodes. And today is going to be no different as we talk about soul rise and soul expressions. And I'm happy to welcome to the show for the first time. He's not been on the show, but he's doing some spectacular work. And we're going to bring him on in just a second and talk about the work he's doing. But let me just read a little bit about Adam and what Adam is doing and who Adam is. His name is Adam Berry, and he's a modern-day spiritualist medium with traditional values, which I appreciate, especially in this modern day. He grew up in around Bury, Lancashire in the United Kingdom. And Adam was awarded the Spiritualist National Union, we call that SNU, which I'm a member of as well. He was awarded the prestigious Gordon Higginson's Memorial Scholarship Award in 2016, a very prestigious award, and has since been awarded a certificate of recognition within the SNU, which we call the CSNU. In speaking, it's really being accredited in demonstrating and teaching in the world of mediumship. Adam has also met the standard to become a trainer tutor at the prestigious Arthur Findlay College, which I have attended for well over a decade. Love the college, just north of London in Stansted. Adam is known for his compassion and dedication in serving others, searching for proof of survival of the soul after physical death. Something that I can very much relate to in my journey and why we do these episodes. This belief has led him to seek the very highest of standards in mediumship and knowledge of the soul and the spirit, and he continues to study to this day in order to be of service. From experience as a young child, his desire and drive to gain knowledge led him to study at the Arthur Findlay College, which we also call AFC. And it's the advancement of spiritualism and psychic sciences which opened his mind in spiritual development further. Adam is a poet and an author. In his book, Soul Rise is now available worldwide, and we'll be talking about this on today's episode, Soul Rise, which is a collection of poems that have evolved from a poem called, quote, Share, end quote. These have become expressions of the soul, born to touch the soul of each reader. After each expression, there is a soul reflections page designed so that readers can write down their own reflections with how the words may have touched, moved, or affected them in some way. The poems invite you into a deeper understanding of self and of others, designed so you can share the expression at your favorite spiritual gatherings, communities, or with just friends and family. Adam's book is now available on print on demand, which reduces the delays in delivery and, of course, overseas postage charges, because everything is definitely much more expensive in our world of inflation. You can learn more about Adam at adamberrymedium.com. Adam, welcome to Inspired Living Radio, my friend.
Hey Mark, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction as well.
Oh, you bet. So let's being that we're both members of the same organization, the Spiritual National Unions. Let's talk about today's episode, which is the second principle that we follow, called the Brotherhood of Man, and being a spiritualist brother. Let's talk about your soul rise and give the listening audience just a little taste of what this soul expression and collection of poems is all about.
Okay. Well, would you like me to recite one, or would you just like me to talk about it first of all?
Whatever you want to do. I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, I will. So, Soul Rise is a book of poems that has really, I like to class it as translating experiences into words, and it just taps into items within our life and experiences that we can all go through from time to time, where it touches on grief, it touches on just life and living, acceptance. There's one about a rainbow. There's one about being on the roundabout of life, and when life can seem quite unkind at times. So there's something in it for everyone, and there are some quite dark poems in there as well, because I felt like it was necessary to incorporate the whole of it as part of my soul rise experience. And it was born really from just creating these poems. I just wanted to express, and it just turned out that they started to rhyme, and I couldn't really stop that from happening. And I'd wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd grab my phone at the side of the bed, and I'd just have to type out, and these words would come out, and I would then put them on a nice background, and I'd put them on social media, just to share with friends on my page. And the response to them was quite overwhelming, and it was a case of people were saying, "Oh, you should really publish these, and could I share them at our church service?" So I had churches coming to me to ask whether they could share them, other fellow mediums asking whether they could read them as part of their address for their philosophy. And it just got me to start thinking that how much the poems were really touching people and helping people. And it was actually a colleague at work that I read the poem Acceptance out to, and she says, "Adam, I love that, but I'm really struggling with how to process it." And I just said, "Would it help if you were able to write down how you felt?" And she said, "Yeah." And that was where the reflection page was born, really, in the way of being able to have a reflection page after each poem, because we're all stirred and we're all triggered in our own ways, and we all have our own experiences within life that are part of our soul purpose. And sometimes just to have an acknowledgement, or for words to touch within that essence of your life, it really creates a movement for people to be able to move forward. And it's a bit like when we listen to lyrics in a song, where we actually feel like that song was written for me, and it's a case of, when you hear the story behind the song, it has nothing to do with the experience that you had, although it's opened up something that's enabled you to move forward. And that's how I have seen Soul Rise, and that has been the feedback from it as well. So it's been, and when I say it all came from a poem called Share. It was my lovely friend Suzette Carlyle that was somebody that I would share the poems with, and she was saying they really need to be shared to the world. And once you have, there will be a poem called Share, and it came quite quickly. But as once you write this poem called Share, then you must stop sharing, ironically. And that was the point where I had to collate the compilation of the poetry, and that's where I took the courage to actually go to a publisher and self-publish Soul Rise. And it was really like everything was all together because the poems were all set, and it was probably the easiest process that I've ever done. That just felt so natural, and it was just a real humbling process because again, I was getting such wonderful feedback when it was released, and the problem that I had when it was released was it wasn't on print on demand as it is now, so it wasn't as easily accessible. So because of the size of the book, because I'm sort of like it needed to be square and it needed to be like a coffee-sized book, and I had all these visions in my mind about how Soul Rise would be, and to be this particular size, it limited how it could be distributed. So everything had to come from my home. So I was busy packing all these books up and sending them worldwide as well, but obviously with the snail mail, it can take weeks internationally. So now we have got the print on demand where they can get it on Amazon, and it's within a few days worldwide now, which is fantastic. But it's been such a wonderful project. It's been quite a vulnerable project as well, because it's putting out there my own sensitivity and vulnerability and my experiences, and sharing them in able to help, like you said, like within the brotherhood and the sisterhood of man. I just feel it's something that needed to be done, and I'm so pleased that it's out there now.
Well, congratulations, one. And two, I love the authentic approach to doing this work and what you're revealing with these poems, because it's very vulnerable. It's very humbling to put your personal thoughts out there for the world to read. It's kind of like doing a podcast and having shows where you're putting some very relevant information and things close to your heart that people will be able to listen to or read. And so congratulations on taking that leap of faith and that courage to do that, because you'll find that people relate to that and can empathize, understand, and that poem really, like you said, poems, music, books, movies, they can all pull at the heartstrings and reach that person to where a normal conversation wouldn't necessarily reach that person at that soul level. Now, you were talking about forward, and I'm going to read the forward from Soul Rise, which is, again, your life work, really, in events that you've put down to paper. And it comes from the great Mavis Patilla, somebody you and I both are connected to. We're going to be celebrating her life this Saturday at the Arthur Findlay College. I unfortunately, but I will be attending online. The beauty of the digital transformation in which we find ourselves in this day and age. But as a personal mentor, what's amazing to me is she's still teaching from the other side. I just had a class with Jean, and we were talking about prayer, and Mavis's philosophy came through. But this is what Mavis said, and put it in the forward of your book. I am delighted that Adam has been able to reflect upon my many significant and special times in his life and cathartically release his innermost expressions through his poetry. He has also provided a unique opportunity for you to join him on your own journey and to let your own soul rise by absorbing his work and reflecting upon your journey through life. As you react to his words and situations and begin to release your own expressions, your eternal partner, your soul, will find peace and joy. And that is from the late, great Mavis Patilla, where I can hear her in my head saying, goodness gracious me. I love that you two gentlemen are having this conversation in a podcast that can go out to the world to listen to, and still be talking about the modern day spiritualism in which both you and I work in. And we're going to be going to our first break here in just a few minutes, Adam. But let's start with one of the poems that you could read. We got about 2 minutes before, actually about a minute before our first break. If we can read one of the poems to start it off, and then we'll come back and pick it up on the other side of the break. How does that sound?
Okay, yeah. So we'll start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so this is called Acceptance because I thought it was appropriate, as this was the one that triggered the reflections page. So, going through life in its twists and its turns, its ups and its downs with lessons to learn, learning from darkness and shades through to grey. The more we encounter, the more that we pray. Acceptance is needed for shades to flow bright, engage in forgiveness, in truth and in light, a power unknown, a source of divine, a compass of life, a guidance of time. When you forgive the unforgiven, starting with oneself, it relieves the heavy burden you created for yourself. Taking responsibility for your past and your present unlocks your potential future without anger or resent. So through all the hardships and life's painful kicks, always remember, it's not always dark at 6.
Brilliant. So we're going to go to our first break, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about Soul Rise with Adam Berry, our special guest today, modern day spiritualist medium. We'll be back here in 2 minutes, and this is Inspired Living Radio.
The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Shift your life at Shift New York. This year, the 16th annual Shift New York Holistic and Psychic Fair will celebrate your healing and wellness. Join us this October 29th and 30th as we are featuring top holistic practitioners and the best spiritual teachers from the Northeast. Join one of our free workshops on spiritual topics to help you shift your life. Discover dream interpretation, animal communication, sound healing, and so much more. Other activities include tarot reading, alternative energy, spiritual healing, mediumship. Private readings and energy healings are also available. You will not want to miss this. Pre-book to guarantee your spot. Shift your life with us. Learn more at shiftnewyork.com.
Hello, listeners. We hope you're enjoying the shows here on OMTimes Radio. Marc Lainhart here, and host of Inspired Living Radio. And I'd like to invite you to my morning show of inspiration, encouragement, healing, motivations, transformations, and discovering that diamond within. Metaphysical Mocha Mondays every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on the Intuitive Prospector Facebook page and my YouTube channel, Soul Adventures. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living. Just want to let our listeners know you can always follow us on social media at Facebook. Look for Inspired Living Radio and Podcast. You can also follow us at Instagram and Twitter. Just look for Inspired For Us. That is the number 4, Inspired For Us. And again, please continue to leave those reviews on the platforms, whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, because it is really elevated Inspired Living into a top 100 podcast to listen to, and that's because of the listeners, the followers of the show, and the reviews that are being left on all the different podcasting platforms. So thank you. Let's keep this ball rolling. We have Adam Berry coming back, a modern-day spiritualist medium and a tutor of tomorrow at the prestigious Arthur Findlay College, talking about his work and collection of poems called Soul Rise, Soul Expressions. Before the break, you heard Adam read one of the poems. And what's interesting about this work for you, Adam, is you gave your readers an opportunity to have a blank page to reflect and to think about what they just read. That's a very interactive book so it's almost like a diary, if you think about it, or a journal after you read the collection of the poems. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's something, I mean, it was important for the page to be blank because obviously we're all different type. We have different ways of expressing. So some people might want to draw, they might want to scribble, write, or whatever. So whatever they feel they need to express, they can do on that page.
And you call that reflections page. So you have the poem. For those that don't have the book yet, that they're going to go out and get, you're going to have a beautiful picture with a poem. And then the next page is a reflections page, which is just literally a blank page. So I love that for those that are on the spiritual quest, the spiritual journey, or just trying to unlock the many secrets of the universe. And especially in this day and age, Adam, with so much going on in our world, it's awesome to see the college back open and to see you as a tutor of tomorrow and see, the changing of the guard, I guess, as you're up and coming at AFC and Mavis is now on the other side, still, helping us on this side. It's just, it's just a passage. It's just a rite of passage, I guess, and it's the changing of the guard. So congratulations on your work. Congratulations on the award that you received from Gordon Higginson. Let's talk about this work in a little bit more detail, a little bit more in depth. What out of the book, what is your favorite poem? Which one really speaks to you and what makes your soul rise and your soul expressions for what you've already written?
Oh gosh, that is a question, because they're all sort of special to me in different ways.
First one that comes to your mind, though, the one that really jumps off the page for you, the one that really is your go-to when times are tough or transformative, or you just need some encouragement.
Well, there's one called Scars that I feel is really important to me, with how I've sort of battled through much adversity through life, and I think Scars is one of hope, is one of, we've all got scars in one way or another, and it's about not being ashamed of those scars, whether emotionally or physically, and it's a really empowering poem, and to me it was one that I looked at my own scars, and I remember it quite clear, and I suppose it is probably one of the most profound, because I was doing shopping, I was walking out the supermarket, and I was carrying the carrier bags, and I just looked down at my scars that I have, and this inspiration started to stir within me, and it was as if, like, I need to get home and I need to write. I need to get this shopping out and I need to write, and I did, and that's where Scars was born. And to me, it was one that would really, help in many ways of people that are suffering with mental health, that may have scars from accidents, self-inflicted scars. It was covering all aspects of that, where we can really be self-conscious about who we are. And sometimes those scars are our war wounds to show where we've been and, and what we can become, because they don't define us in some ways as what our minds can take us that way. And it's about empowering ourselves to show you've been through a war, a personal war, and you survived it. And that's, so to me, I feel it's one of my most powerful poems in my opinion. So it's one that I'm quite proud of. I'm proud of them all, but there's just something about that one that really sticks with me.
I love that. It's like, when you said scars, the quote that came to my mind was from, the author John Steinbeck that wrote, to be alive, to quote, to be alive at all is to have scars. And that's a reminder for our listeners out there that, the scars heal, and they usually come back, the skin is actually stronger and more, may not look as pretty with a scar, but, there's that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that goes the same for scars. And as soon as you said scars, John Steinbeck, jumped into my mind. To be alive at all is to have scars in the journey of life. Yeah. For our listeners out there, to bring them into this show a little bit more closer, do you mind reading Scars as a way of the poem?
Yeah, of course. I'll read Scars. I'll just get to the page. Okay, so this is Scars. At times we can look back and see how life was hard, not only by the memories, but also by the scars. The physical ones, they say, are wounds of our wars. Wars in life are sabotage, the bricks thrown at our doors. These are scars we look upon to see how far we've come. Once painful and traumatic, and still may be for some. But it's the scars and our emotions, the ones you cannot see. The hidden suffering of the mind, affecting you and me. These scars cannot be covered up or treated with a plaster. They affect our lives in ways that can end up in disaster. So whatever scars you hold, whether small, large or bold, physical or emotional, there's a story to be told. Never be ashamed of the scars upon your body, or the ones in mind. Share them with somebody. Always be true, and let your light shine through, as the war wounds of your past is a testament to you. Here we go.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I hope our listeners are loving it too, because there's some powerful transformational words in that. And then if you scroll to the next page, for those that are going to get the book, you have a blank page of reflections to reflect. And as Adam was reading that, another quote came up from author Khalil Gibran that talks about, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. So that's, I'm reflecting live on the show as you're reading that. I'm thinking, what do I know about scars? What do I know about my own scars, my own journey? The things that have, helped me to be a storyteller here in a different format, podcasting, versus you as an author writing this. And you'll find, and I've been doing the show for a long time now. We're in our 7th season, Adam. And some of the most inspirational people that have come on this show are those that have the deepest scars. Those that have had the breakdown leads to a breakthrough. Some of the strongest, most loving, humble people I've ever met that have been on the show have been just, challenged with trauma and tragedies. Maybe it's a near-death experience. Maybe it's a loss of a loved one. And that's why we do the work that we do, is to be in service and to help others, and to also, inspire others that death is not the end, and that these scars will carry with us even after this physical journey here, this incarnation that we have experienced. Those scars will take with us, because that means that we lived a life and that we are on a true soul adventure. So thank you for sharing that with the listening audience. And it's just I'm just doing my own reflection out loud, so bear with me, listeners. I was just reflecting live and applying what I have on my shows, and applying what I learned, because that's the beauty of doing these shows, Adam, is I get to connect to people, and I get to learn so many different philosophies and modalities and experiences, and this is going to be the same with Soul Rise, soul expression. So if you want to get the book, you can get that on demand printing. You said it was pretty much available wherever books are sold. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Or is there Amazon?
Yes. Yeah, it's Amazon on
What about
print
your
on
website?
demand. So that's on my website. You can You can also go on. I mean, if people wanted a signed copy, they can also go on my. There is a soulrise.co.uk website too, but you can get all of my websites, YouTube channels, and all the bits and pieces that I've done through Linktree, which is linktree.adamberry medium. So that sort of links all my work together.
Okay, and they can also just go to adamberrymedium.com and get to those links as well, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, just want to point people in the right direction because it's a big internet out there. It's a big wide world out there. So we want to make sure that we're getting people to the right links and the right sites. So adamberrymedium.com, and from there you can link out to get a signed copy as well. So yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about the teaching that you're doing at the Arthur Findlay College, because I think that's important. And in your bio that I read, we talked about the prestigious Gordon Higginson Memorial Scholarship that you got in 2016, but you also went to get a certificate of recognition through the SNU in speaking and demonstrating and teaching. That's what I'm currently working on myself, which is a slow process from this pandemic. But something, Mavis encouraged me to do as well, to have those little initials behind your name, because the accreditation is like what I teach my students and the philosophy I share is it's like being a doctor or it's being a lawyer. You got to take that bar exam. You got to go in front of that medical board review to be certified in what you do, which means you're knowledgeable and a teacher in that subject. And I don't think mediumship is any different. In fact, I think it's more, I encourage people to get accredited in this field of mediumship and psychic sciences. So for you, because I know you're a tutor of tomorrow, as I think is what, if I'm saying that right, what's the journey been like to, teach at this prestigious Arthur Findlay College in England?
Well, it's been, as you say, it's kind of like a long journey. From taking the platform accreditation to going doing the certificate in speaking and demonstrating, and then going into teaching, because like the teaching aspect of it as well is a 2-year process to be able to, and then it's a case of attending weekends, being assessed, and then doing your final boards to meet that requirement, and then waiting to be invited to then take the next stage of assessment at the Arthur Findlay College, and then you're assessed again for another week with all your knowledge. You're given titles to work to, and it's quite. I'm quite a nervous person, so it's and I find it difficult in situations of being assessed and having all that panic of you've got people on a panel that are judging you, and you're being judged for something that you feel absolutely passionate about, and you're actually doing all the time, really, because you're doing it with services when we're demonstrating mediumship, and we're doing aspects of our teaching. But then you come into this place of you're being scrutinized, I suppose, and it is in a good way, because it's, as you say, it's about getting the standard in in delivering teachings correctly for spiritualism. And it's like you brought out a good point there, and because some people say, why do you need a certificate? You're working with the spirit world. There's no certificates in the spirit world, and if you've got this natural ability, then why do you need to have these certificates? And I can agree with that, because it is something that you develop naturally. But sometimes, for me, it was a set structure that I enjoyed going by, and I did learn about etiquette, presentation, different aspects of that. Alongside I was lucky to have Mavis as a mentor, because everything that she taught complemented everything that was needed for the qualifications within the SNU anyway. So I was very lucky within that, and having such a foundation of teaching to be able to do that. But some people are natural counsellors. They're able to listen to people, maybe able to get people to reflect and have that natural ability. But it doesn't mean to say that they can just set up a room and start counselling people and charging money for it, because it's unethical. They need to go through that training and learning the ethics of what they're doing to meet that sort of standard, to protect the sitter first and foremost, and to make sure that they are doing things correctly. Now, I think some people might disagree with me with that, and I know that I've got friends that have actually never done any accreditations and things, and they're absolutely amazing mediums, amazing teachers, and they don't need the certificates. So I'm not saying, but for me and for a lot of people, I think it's a necessity, because we've got to think about how we're all nurtured in some way. So what some families accept as acceptable in the world is not acceptable to other people, and it may be to do with language, like bad language, or the way that people think, inward prejudice, or all these different aspects of what we're conditioned to when we're growing up and within our friendship circles, that may not necessarily be acceptable on the platform delivering a spirit communication. While working with someone that's quite vulnerable, it's knowing that empathy and that compassion to understand people more. So I believe that's, in some ways, the courses help you to understand more about the faculty that we're using, but it also gives you that space to understand about you a little bit more as well. So I think to go to that and be assessed on that level of understanding, because it's not just about the demonstrating mediumship, it's about being asked questions as well in an interview. It's being in a situation of being able to do an inspired talk just by reading something. Also, if you was going into the speaking part of it, it's your depth of knowledge within that, because I find too that when you're on a platform, you might be the best demonstrator in the world, and people in that audience are going to listen to everything that you say. They'll take everything as gospel, so to speak, about the spirit world, but that person may not have that knowledge and understanding of, or a different perception of what the spirit world is. They just know that they can do it, but don't want to know why or anything like that, and that's fine as well. But then there could be some aspects to their limited knowledge, and I'm just being general here, and I'm not being specific on, but I'm just giving an example. But that lack of knowledge could really harm somebody that is quite vulnerable, that have been maybe to a church for the first time, because there's talk of like attachments and all these different things, that possessions and things, which I believe is a load of nonsense. But some people will believe that, and some people with that lack of knowledge and understanding, they could send somebody away to believe that they've got some sort of a spiritual attachment, or being attacked by the spirit world, or some nonsense like that, and I think it's quite dangerous. So I think the education system that the SNU has got is a really good one too. It's logical, it's grounded, it's sensible, it's structured, and to me it made sense. So that's the way I've always seen that. And we don't always agree with everything all the time, and that's life, because if we did agree, then life would be boring, wouldn't it? But with it's about being the best of service for the spirit world, but also being the best of service for our brothers and sisters, brotherhood of man, and being of service to help people within life to move forward with the philosophy that we speak, to hopeful that the depth of knowledge that we can tap into with ourselves, and connect into the spirit world, should hopefully be able to move that person in the congregation or audience, wherever you are, that may not receive a communication from the spirit world, but they're touched by the words and the depth of knowledge that you have. And it doesn't stop there with textbooks and things. I'm not a reader. I'm really not a reader. I've said this many times, but I've got dyslexia, so I find it hard to read and take it in. I'm not saying I can't read, but I find it hard, and it's my concentration, and I find it very difficult.
Not your number one choice.
So I'm someone that is an experiential learner. So I listen to what people say, and it's important for me to know. And that's where Mavis came in, really, because everything Mavis said just resonated with me so much, and she just really empowered, and obviously where Soul Rise is concerned, it felt really important that Mavis did the forward in that, because I always say she was the person that helped me to find my voice, because before meeting Mavis I was so shy, and Mavis would say to me, Adam, you may be shy but your soul isn't. And she could see the pain in me when I used to get up to speak. She'd have like a bag of items in like a bottle and a calculator and a ruler and all these things, and you didn't know what you were going to pull out of the bag, and then you had to philosophize on it and speak inspirationally on that object. And I remember standing up, and I had a bottle of water, and I just kept thinking, it's a plastic bottle. It's just a plastic bottle. And she's like, what does it say on it, Adam? And then I sort of went into it. And honestly, I must have lasted a minute, and she congratulated me. She congratulated me when I sat down, because she knew how hard it was for me to stand up, and and just to express just that 1 minute. And now I can do addresses, and I love speaking. So it's all part of that, and we're just lucky to have had Mavis as a mentor.
Yeah, so let's hold it right there. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Inspired Living Radio.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
If I could be you.
And you could be me?
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes. We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
And welcome back, everybody, to Inspired Living. Our special guest today, Adam Berry, poet, author, modern-day spiritualist medium, and a tutor up tomorrow at the Arthur Findlay College. Thank you, Adam, for sharing your information and your passions and your love and your poetry with us. I know our inspired listeners out there will really glean a lot from these writings. And before the break, you were talking, I was laughing because I remember when I started mentoring under Mavis back in 2015, I had a very similar situation to where I didn't want to do platform demonstrations. I didn't want to do this work. And, standing up there to do an inspirational talk on gummy bears. I had some gummy bears that I was eating in the audience. So it's funny that you had a bottle of water and I had a package of gummy bears, which I love, that I had to speak about. It's like, how do you speak and inspire people about gummy bears? It worked out, but when you were saying that, I was just totally laughing. Like, I can totally remember that experience. But what it did is it not only had you stand up, but public speaking for a lot of people can just be, nervous and speaking in front of people just in general. But then to speak words that aren't written down, that doesn't have a PowerPoint or agenda listed. You're not reading from a cue card. That can be even tougher, I would say.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was thinking when you were sharing, the accreditation that I believe in and that I myself follow and what I teach on to my students, it's going back to that. Yeah, people are not always going to agree with, why do you need an accreditation? Spirit world doesn't. We're assuming the spirit world is saying that. We don't know that to be true, right? It's, that's just a perspective. But I found in doing spiritualism, the spirituality is your ability to shift your perspective. Knowing that you're not always right in what you do and being, teachable and unlearning some of the things you've been taught. And, with the accreditation, we're counselors too, right? We're not only inspirers, we're teachers, we're counselors. People come to us with, grief, death and dying. I just had a good friend, help her mom yesterday gain her angel wings. She was with her and she, asked for prayers and holding space. And, she was with her mom, which I call the beautiful pain. It's beautiful to be with somebody when they're getting ready to transfer over to the other side, but it's also very painful because you're losing that physical connection to that person, but you're not losing the love of that person. That love resides from here to the other side, and that's a lot of what we do. And so we're not only counselors, but we're also trustworthy. And I think that the accreditation and writing the many papers is not just about reading books. There's a lot of papers to write. I was surprised at how many papers I've had to written based on concepts and foundations and philosophy, but it also becomes a trusted source because you have done the work and you have done the going in front of the boards, and so I commend you for that. And there's going to be a new generation that are going to come to the college or follow you online and teaching the principles and the accreditation and the education system that the SNU is. I'm just thinking of the 7th principle, eternal progress open to every human soul. That's powerful because it's all about progress and moving forward. So this show goes by so very quickly. I could talk about this for the next 3 hours, but I'm sure my producer Chris wouldn't like that. So let's just kind of take the last section of the show and let's just talk about whatever you want to talk about. What do you want to share with the listening audience? Do you want to read another poem out of your book? What's on your heart? What's on your mind?
Well, there's one thing I'd like to talk about, and it's something I do on a Monday evening, which is, it's a Monday evening in the UK, called Sitting in the Power, and I call it an online community supporting physical communities. And Sitting in the Power was something I was introduced to by the late Glyn Edwards at the Arthur Findlay College in 2005, and I was taught it's a fundamental part of developing mediumship and attuning to the spirit world. And I spent a few years trying to search for this power after I'd experienced it, and I was always searching outside of myself. And I've spent a lot of time trying to understand sitting in the power and the power within, and basically it's the power of God. It's a universal power. It's the architect. It's the creator. However you perceive that power to be, because the word God isn't always palatable for everybody. But me as a spiritualist, I accept the word God, but understand that people can't in some ways. So, but no one is discriminated against the power, because the source is always within and around us. And I believe that this power, we have the spirit within, and that's housed by the soul. And I believe that it's, our power point is where our solar plexus is, around the abdomen area, where we feel our emotions, the butterflies and the joy, the pain, the anxiety, whatever. That's where our emotions are. So where the sitting in the power comes from, obviously it was from the discipline that Glyn Edwards taught, and that was through the mediumship of Marc Webb that he was given that discipline. Now I have my own way, but based on that foundation of Glyn's sitting in the power, but obviously in my own inspirational way. And I started this back in 2019, actually, when I was president of a spiritualist church for 2 years. And the aim of it was that allowing people to have a space, they could come and, would sit in the power. We called it sitting in the power hour at the time. And people would come, and it just gave them that time to sit in the power. I would guide them into that power, and whatever it is that their soul needs at that time, because we all have a unique pathway of the soul. So, we may be great speakers, we may be great healers, maybe creative, not just communicating mediums. So whatever it is, that power is there to influence, empower, and encourage. So giving that space for that power to be acknowledged is a sacred time, and that's what I was doing in the church at that time. And I just felt that once we get the power right in the church, then all the inspiration will follow after that. And then obviously we got hit by lockdown, and then sitting in the power went online. It went onto Facebook Live, and it's now on Zoom. It's been going for 3 years now, and we get around 40 to 50 people a week when it's strong. But you've got your die hard sitting in the power people that come, and it's just a wonderful community, and I just love it. It's my favourite part of the week, and I always like to, because my time is free with that. It's not, I don't do that for any money, but it's for people that attend to actually donate to their own churches, to their own centres, or to their own spiritual communities, or a church or centre that they feel struggling at the time. So it's wonderful to be able to advertise and then tag those churches in, to know that they are being supported. And we've just brought a really wonderful community together. And it's wonderful to hear some of the feedback of the people that come every week, to know how their lives have changed, because that's what it's all about. It's about moving the soul. I talked about soul rise. Now it's about allowing the soul to rise into the purpose of what we're meant to be. So whatever it is that you're doing, it only enhances and encourages that. So I just wanted to sort of put that out there, that every Monday evening at 7 p.m. on a Monday evening in the UK, it's, let me get this right, it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, and it's 11 a.m. Pacific time. Now they're the only times I know, so you have to forgive me, anybody else who I've missed out.
we always just say check your local listings for, you've got time converters. So UK is usually 8 hours ahead based on where I'm at in Seattle. We're about to fall back, so there's going to be some time changes. But, this is also on your website at adamberrymedium.com.
It
is.
You
can also find him on Facebook, Sitting in the Power, which is a great benefit to your spiritual journey. I always go back to Rumi, the 12th century mystic. The quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. And that's truth with the spirit world, your higher self. Adam, it's been a pleasure having you on today. I'd love to have you come back and continue this journey here on Inspired Living. You got a taste of a few of the poems that Adam shared with us today. And again, if you want to get Soul Rise, Soul Expression, you can find the link here at our Facebook page of Inspired Living Radio and Podcasts. You can go to adamberrymedium.com, and you can also find him teaching future courses of spiritualism, mediumship, and psychic sciences at the prestigious Arthur Findlay College. So a lot of places to connect with Adam. Again, Adam, thanks for being on the show. What inspires you before we end? What or who inspires you, real quickly?
Well, I always have to say it's Mavis. Mavis will always inspire me. She inspired me here, and she will always continue to inspire me from the spirit world. I know that. And just before I do leave as well, I just have to give thanks to Helen Disbury as well for making this happen, and for being a dear friend and sharing all of my work and being wonderful at what she does.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam. Until the next time, this is Inspired Living Radio. Be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. We'll see you next time here on Inspired Living. Namaste.